I love a good cover song if it's done right. And by that I mean there's two different ways to do a cover song in my mind. And one is to do it note for note, exactly the way that the original sounded. If your singer sounds like that guy or something like that. And then the other way is the Sweet Dreams Are Made of This thing where you just take the cover and completely flip it on its ear, change the genre, pick something way out of your genre or way antithesis, is that the word? What's the word I'm looking for? The opposite of your genre, and just do something really crazy with it. And there were a couple of decent covers this year that were released, and I'm going to talk about them in order to talk about the ones that I already had on this list from 2024. So this is the best cover songs. I won't even say best, because some of these I'm going to talk a little crap on. Some of these don't need to exist, but the cover songs that I found from 2024 and 2025. And some are official releases on albums or as singles, and some are just YouTube videos. Some are on certain things, specials, or on performances on shows or something like that. We'll get to all of that when it comes to it. So, hi, friends. We're gonna still talking about music from 2025, and this is all of the cover songs. So, most recently, St. Vincent did a cover of Young Americans, and I couldn't seem to find it on her actual album YouTube stuff, but the performance, like I was saying earlier, performance of Young Americans on Stephen Colbert's show, and it's pretty good. That's in my 50-year-old music this year. I think that was 1976. And of course, I love anything by David Bowie. And I love St. Vincent. This one is just mildly, I would give it a 7 or an 8. I don't think it really fits her style, but St. Vincent doing Bowie, I'm all in. Either way. There's a new band girl. I don't know if it's the whole band or if it's just the chick, but they're called Horror. I assume they pronounce it Horror, and all of the R's are 9s. So it's like, or upside down 666, Horror. And once again, it's a live video, but it's on her official YouTube channel. And they did Nine Inch Nails' March of the Pigs, which is not an easy song to sing or play. So a lot of props to that one. Kesha did a cover of Holiday Road by Lindsey Buckingham from the National Lampoon's Vacation soundtrack. And it's very strange. It's not bad, but it's kind of slow, and that song is kind of more of an up-tempo thing, and I think she speeds it up a little bit as she goes through it, but it's a real strange choice. It's not bad, but just a strange choice. Belinda Carlisle, I know I talk about Brandi Carlile a lot, but sometimes I'll Freudian slip and say Belinda Carlisle, but apparently in 2025, Belinda Carlisle has come back out with new music, so there'll be more opportunity for me to mix up those two names. But the song I heard wasn't an original, it was a cover of Three Dog Nights 1. And I should say the Harry Nilsson song 1, because that's who wrote it. But awesome song, one of those songs you can't mess up because it's just a perfect song. One is the loneliest number that you've ever saw. I don't think that's the words, but words. Where we're going, we don't need words. Halestorm, after doing the amazing Back to the Beginning concert, singing The Ultimate Sin, was the one she did, right? And it's a weird choice. It's not a kind of a deep cut, sort of. But she did Shooting Star by Bad Company, and actually features Paul Rogers singing with her on it, and it's pretty good. I like Halestorm, and this kind of, what would I say, makes up for the terrible, terrible butt rock cover of the song Bad Company a few years ago by Five Finger Donkey Punch. But yeah, let's not talk about that. Halestorm, Shooting Star. So yeah, interesting song to cover, and good for her. She's got other new music out, but we're talking about covers today. The Damned released a version of See Emily Play by Pink Floyd, the first Pink Floyd single, and it's great seeing somebody like the Damned do that. Brian James, the leader of the Damned, and I think, Rat Scabies is back in the band, so it's actually still at least one original member. But man, that sun is bright today. I'm sorry, I'm going to be closing my eyes a whole bunch. I'm allergic to that vampire stuff. So, God, I wanted to be over in the light, but this is ridiculous. See what it does? Whew, I had to get away from that just a little bit. Next, let's talk about Steve Morse. Longtime guitarist for Deep Purple. And it's just weird to say that because I grew up in the 80s when he was kind of like a country jazz guy. The Dixie Dregs are one of the best, you'd call them fusion, but it wasn't like what you think of fusion as like heavy rock jazz fusion. His was more of a country rock jazz fusion. And then he joined Kansas for a few years there, and I'll be talking about that Kansas album Power with Steve Morse because it's a 1986 album. But then he joined Deep Purple, and he was with Deep Purple for over 20 years, and now just finally quit this year. I don't know, I think his wife may have had health issues or something that he had to quit Deep Purple, but just so weird. Steve Morse and Deep Purple just makes no sense. But he was in the Musician's Friend studio and did a live version of Stevie Wonder's Cause We've Ended as Lovers. And I say Stevie Wonder because that's who wrote it, but really it's a Jeff Beck song, Cause We've Ended as Lovers. And Steve Morse is just one of the greatest guitar players to ever live. There's nothing that guy can't play. Just phenomenal. Now let's talk about Youngblood. He's had a hell of a year, 2025. For a couple of years now, I've followed this guy, and his original music is just psycho and crazy, and he's just a crazy guy. And the last couple of years, he's kind of taken a pivot into doing a lot more covers. I've seen him on live things doing covers of God Only Knows by the Beach Boys and Linger by the Cranberries, and he did I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss on that Fall Guys soundtrack last year, and at the Back to the Beginning festival, he stole the whole show by doing Changes by Black Sabbath, and it's just a phenomenal cover. And I've talked about that at length. Ozzy has kind of anointed him the new rock star, just kind of blessed his soul and pushed him on his way. And we'll talk in the features video. He did the Ozzy tribute, and then he did the Ozzy tribute at the Grammys with Steven Tyler, and apparently they hit it off because Aerosmith and Youngblood have made a whole EP together, and I'm just here for it. He had a new song called Zombie that, since he did Linger, I thought maybe it was a Cranberries cover, but when I listened to it, it was an original, so he's still doing that. But yeah, covers. Youngblood is good at them. And unfortunately, I've got to mention, since we're talking about covers, I try to be all inclusive. Psycho Jojo Siwa did a cover of Betty Davis Eyes, the old 80s hit by Kim Carnes, and it just so doesn't need to exist. But Jojo Siwa doesn't need to exist either. I wish she would just go away. Triumph, I guess you could talk about this in a covers video. Triumph did a tribute album, and Phil X and a couple of the other guys, I'll talk about this in another thing, they're doing a reunion tour, and they're actually having the 3 original Triumph guys, but then Phil X, who replaced Rick Emmett in the 90s for a short period, is back, and they've got the bass player and drummer from Slash's band to kind of fill it out so they don't have to do extra tracks on tour. But their tribute album is those guys playing most of the music, and then they have guest singers come in, Jeff Keith from Tesla, and Sebastian Bach, and Dee Schneider, and Nancy Wilson from Heart, and just a whole slew of rock and roll singers come and singing Triumph songs. And some of them, I love Rick Emmett's voice on his songs, and so some of them I still prefer the original, but some of them are cool, neat new take on the songs. So if you like Triumph, go and check out that tribute album. It's worth listening to. And that was all my 2025. I made this video so I could still talk about a few of these ones that came out last year that I put on this list, and then I just never made the video for. So, starting with Weird Al Yankovic. And I saw one of his Polka Mania videos, and I thought it may have been an older song. It was a new video, but I thought it may have been an older song because, he does the polka versions of pop songs. And this one had Uptown Funk and Shape of You by Ed Sheeran and Shake It Off by Taylor Swift. So I thought maybe this was from 10 years ago. This is from when he did his last album. But then it went into WAP and Bad Guy by Billie Eilish, and I thought, well, those songs were only like 5 or 6 years old, right? 2019 maybe is like 6 years old, 7 years old. But then it had Flowers by Miley Cyrus on it, and that one was from last year. So this obviously has to be a new polka that he's done. I don't know why he's chosen so many older songs. Maybe there's not enough newer stuff to even mess with. Weird Al as a concept is kind of a byproduct of the monoculture era. So I don't even know how Weird Al would look around and see what songs to make covers of, make parodies of nowadays. Tell me in the comments what you think about that, because that's just a whole weird thing. Weird Al is such a great artist, and he's such a talented guy, and he's got such a weird place in pop culture history. I don't know. Moving on, Train, who's not one of my favorite bands of all time, but for some reason they are I'm gonna move this phone out of the sunlight because it. All right, we're back, and move the phone was melting in the sun as my eyes are melting in the sun. I'm sneezing because I've got that thing that you sneeze when you look in the bright light. Anyway, back to the list. Where did I leave off? Train. Ugh. I do not like Train, but for some reason they are amazing at doing covers. And in this case, they did Hold On Loosely by 38 Special with Joe Bonamassa playing the guitar solos and just nailing them. It's such a good cover. If you can ignore the fact that it's Train, then it's pretty good. Atreyu, one of those scene bands, one of those emo hardcore bands from, I would say, 2000 somewhere. They're back with new music. I talked about in one of the other videos, but they did a cover of Like a Stone by Audioslave, and it's crazy to think that a song like that is a classic, but it's 15, 20 years old now. And it was really good. The bluesy voice and nice acoustics and piano. And apparently, I wrote down good solo. I don't remember what the solo sounded like. I know that song has such an iconic Tom Morello solo. So they either had to do it exactly the same and pay tribute, or do something a little different with it. And apparently, it was impressive enough for me to write good solo. So there you go. Take it on my word. Go listen to Like a Stone by Atreyu. Pierce the Veil did Karma Police, and I think I was kind of on the fence about that. I give that a 5 or 6 out of 10. It wasn't the best, but that's one of the hardest songs to play on guitar, and it's just an odd choice. Obviously, they're going for more indie clout than just doing Creep or something like that, Fake Plastic Trees or something like that. But Pierce the Veil, that's another one that has new music out. Dream Car is a band I saw. It was just a live video of them doing Moon Age Daydream, and I only mentioned that song because they did it really well. You could tell the guy's a big Freddie Mercury, the singer's a big Freddie Mercury person. But that's my song. That's my David Bowie's trademark song, cover song. So I'm glad somebody's out there keeping it in the mainstream, I guess, sort of keeping it in the zeitgeist, so to speak. Lofay, gotta find out how to say her name right. She's so awesome. Her song From the Start was covered by this new, I assume new, sort of pop punky kind of band called Good Kid. And it only had a couple of thousand views on the video that I saw, and it's just sad. It's one of those where it's just such a perfect song that you would have to try really hard to mess it up. So it's a competent cover. Really good song. Kate Hudson, the actress, Goldie Hawn's daughter, has tried to break back into singing. I think I talked about this in one of my new music videos over the summer or last year or sometime. But she did a cool cover of Voices Carry by Till Tuesday. And yeah, really, really good. I give it a 7, maybe 8. Yeah, 7 or 8. It's almost too perfect. It's too by the book. It's like what I was talking about. It just, except to be as a vehicle to put her back into the pop zeitgeist. It's a good cover for that, but neither here nor there. Last Dinner Party is a great band that I've been trying to get into the last couple of years. Their originals are amazing, but they've released a couple of covers. They did Call Me by Blondie, and it has real nice chunky piano, and the vocals are just top notch. And all the guitar parts were played real competently. It's just a good cover for them. And they also did a cover of Dog Days Are Over by Florence and the Machine that I saw. So I wanted to throw that in there. Sophie Tucker did a real mellow, sad bastard version of All She Wants by Ace of Base, which is weird because I thought Sophie Tucker was kind of more of an more of an EDM artist. So to see them doing kind of almost a ballady version of a dance song was kind of neat. It's a version of that song that I would listen to probably before I would listen to Ace of Base, and I love Ace of Base. Maggie Rogers is kind of one of those C-tier Taylor Swift kind of girls. She kind of flirts with pop and flirts with country, but she did a really amazing version of I Can't Make You Love Me by Bonnie Raitt, and that's a song that's been on my wish list to cover for a long time. Once again, just the perfect song, so you can't mess it up covering a song like that. Jesse Wells, I've got a whole video ready to go about Jesse Wells. If you don't know who he is, oh my goodness, look him up. Jesse Wells is the new voice of a generation. I'm not even a big folk or obviously kind of country-ish Americana, I guess you could say. But one of the most prolific songwriters and timely, man, I'll talk about all that in the Jesse Wells video. Just go look him up until then. But he did, in between all of his timely, poignant songs that he's done 5 albums this year. He's released over 200 songs, I think, in like a year and a half period. It's unbelievable. But he's also thrown in some covers of John Prine and Bob Dylan and the Rolling Stones and some others that I think I've missed. But, oh my goodness, Jesse Wells. Yeah, just like top 5 artists of the year at least. Moving on. Metallica. Metallica played at the Gershwin Prize award for Elton John and did a killer version of Love Lies Bleeding. And I think I talked about that in the other videos last year, but I just had to mention it again because it's just superb. So good. I don't know how James's voice sounds so good on a song like that, but it just does. And Kirk playing all of the guitar and piano lines on guitar, and he's playing the Greenie, Peter Green's guitar, and it's just perfect. The Who, that's how I say it, the Who, H-U. They're that Mongolian slash metal funk band that came out a few years ago, and they're just completely amazing. But they did a cover of Iron Maiden's The Trooper on all their vintage instruments, like their traditional instruments. It's so good. And their weird throat singing voices, and such a good band. The Who. You say The Who, I don't want it to sound like I'm saying The Who. So it's The Who. Body Count did a version of Comfortably Numb that he kind of just flips the whole thing on its head. And it's not bad, but you could skip it if you care to. If it sounds exactly like what it is. Body Count and Ice-T doing Comfortably Numb. I take it or leave it. Jerris Johnson is a weird group of, part of a weird group of artists that was kind of like Post Malone, face tattooed, like Gen Z music, but they embrace a lot of the new metal and hardcore stuff. So it's kind of trap beats and laptop rock with metal and hardcore mixed in there. And he actually even, I thought, was crossed over into a lot more of the butt rocky kind of stuff when I first heard him a couple years ago. But he did a cover of Kiss from a Rose by Seal, which is ambitious, and it's not terrible. Lyric Noel is not a name you'll ever have to remember, I don't think. She's in the long span of new artists, female, kind of overproduced, but still kind of heavy and edgy and Nine Inch Nailsy. And most of them, not to say that she is, I can't even remember the video for that, but most of those girls you can recognize because they have bright red hair. A lot of the lead singers in these bands just have bright red hair, and that means I'm angry and metal and, I can do without it. But this girl covered Cry Little Sister, which is such low-hanging fruit. That song has been covered in the mainstream at least a half a dozen times that I know of, and every other cover band does it because it's so super simple and it's such a perfectly written song that I keep saying over and over again, you can't mess it up. So she's not great. She's barely holding it together, and that's a studio version. So I don't know. I don't get a good vibe off of it. Even though I love the song, I could do without her doing it. Just stick with the original. On the other hand, Willie Nelson doing Flaming Lips is Do You Realize? I'm going to look you in the eyes for this one. This is heart-wrenching. That song already, the lyrics blow my mind and bring a tear to my eye usually almost every, in the right instance, every time I listen to it, it brings a tear to my eye. And hearing Willie Nelson's old ass sing those words, it just freaking rips your heart out and stomps on it. That's all I got to say about that. The All-American Rejects were on defying Live Nation and Ticketmaster this year by going on house tours. A band that big playing a house party tour is just amazing. They did backyard parties and just set everything up through social media, and it's just a new way to look at it's how we're going to have to get through this new era of billionaire techno overlord oligarchies and do away with monopolies. We're going to have to go back to our roots, and American Rejects, All American Rejects, really set that part of it in motion. But they did a cover of Flagpole Sitta by Harvey Danger, which one-hit wonder from 99 or 2000. I think of that as a 2000 song, but I think it actually came out in 99. And I thought, man, why is this band doing an old song? Or why is this band doing like such a new song? I think of those as contemporaries. I think of the All-American Rejects music and Flagpole Sitta as all being sort of the same. But that song's 26 years old now. That's just crazy. It'd be like somebody in the 90s doing a 60s song. Like, it's just so weird. David Lee Roth, I had a whole bunch of stuff written about the whole David Lee Roth and Van Halen drama from the last year or two. It may have all fallen out of relevancy by now because nothing's ever come of any new music yet that we've heard of, and they said that they'll never sign off on any kind of biopic or even documentaries. Alex is putting his foot down about any of that stuff, and Valerie is putting her foot down about any of that stuff. So we're never going to see any of that kind of stuff. But David Lee Roth has put out a couple of new songs and a couple of covers and interesting songs that he chose. Jenny, 8675309, old 80s song, and Baker Street from the 70s. And it's David Lee Roth. They're good. The Pixies did a cover of Doris Day's Que sera, sera, whatever will be, will be. And they do it in the Pixie style, so it's just great. There's a YouTube band called Broken Peach that does a lot of cool mashups and cover songs. And I say that they're a YouTube band because they really go all out with their videos. And they're a band, 3-piece band with 3 female lead singers. And they all dress in the costumes, and their costumes are all different for each song and concept of each video. And they do this weird strobe effect where they look like they're robots while they're singing, and they're kind of choreographed and super, super good and super entertaining. And they always do a Halloween song, and I think they always do a Christmas song too, but they did quite a few songs this year that were cool mashups. And just go look them up for yourself. Broken Peach. They're really good. Classless Act. God, that's a hard one to say. Classless. See? Classless Act. Say that 3 times. Classless. I can't. Classless Act. They were the band that is kind of a newer band. It's a throwback to a lot of the hair band and 70s and 80s rock stuff. They're the band that opened the festival tour a couple years ago with Def Leppard and Motley Crue and Poison and Joan Jett and Classless Act. And what I found was their cover of Britney Spears' Toxic, which was really good. There was another band called Stress Balls that also covered Toxic last year. Last year meaning 2024. And it wasn't quite as good. The tempo lagged a whole bunch, like noticeably. It was not good. Sponge did a cover of Fade Into You, the old Mazzy Star song, and it was good, but what was better was Manchester Orchestra doing Fade Into You by Mazzy Star, and they also did Believe by Cher, and both of them seemed to be from the same session, and it was just an acoustic electric piano. There was no drums. I say acoustic, I mean no drums, not that nothing was plugged in, because it's obviously an electric piano. And it just, that sound just makes me think of 70s Billy Joel and Supertramp and all of that kind of stuff. And it's cool. 2 super mellow songs. You can hear it. The studio reverb is just bigger than it should be, and in the best way possible. So I hadn't heard of Manchester Orchestra in quite a few years, so I guess it's good that they're back doing some stuff. But if all we get is these 2 cover songs, it's what it is. So it's weird in this age of modern laptop music that there's so many bands out there still doing cover songs. I know a lot of songs nowadays get picked up as either samples or interpolations, where they'll just use the hook of somebody's song and put their own words to it, or use the basis of some other 80s or 90s, even 2000s now, song and just sing their own song over it. So I like it when an artist just does a faithful cover of the song. And like I said at the beginning, you can either cover a song faithfully, like note for note, sound for sound, like the way Weezer did the Teal album and Africa and all that stuff. And there's a certain amount of talent and appreciation that can go into that. But that can also make me just turn my nose up at it too, where I go, why? Why does that even exist? If it sounds exactly like the original, why does it even exist? And that's the example of that, like that Cry Little Sister. Okay, we get it. You based your whole style on that one song, so you got to cover that song. But I don't know. And the other way to cover a song is just to flip it on its ears, and we had a few of those this year too. So that's exciting. All right, getting a little windbaggy, so check out some of my other videos and please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 100 by the end of the year. So if you made it this far, I deserve the subscription from you. So thank you. Love you. Bye-bye.